Welcome back. The Senate confirming 6 of President Trump's cabinet nominees. Former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin has been confirmed as EPA administrator. This happened yesterday in a 56-42 vote. A vote for Interior Secretary nominee Doug Burgum expected later today. FBI Director nominee Kash Patel and DNI nominee Tulsi Gabbard both facing Senate committees today. Their hearings are happening this morning. Yesterday, Health and Human Services nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Commerce Secretary nominee Howard Lutnick testified on Capitol Hill in their own hearings. Watch.
And all these Democrats are opposed to me for partisan issues. They used to be my friends. Agreed with me on all the environmental issues that I've been working on for my whole career. Now they're against me because anything that President Trump does, any decision he makes, has to be lampooned, derided, discredited, marginalized, vilified.
So this is a separate tariff to create action from Mexico and action from Canada. And as far as I know, they are acting swiftly. And if they execute it, there will be no tariff. And if they don't, then there will be. But it's an action-oriented model. That's not the ordinary tariff. The ordinary tariffs need to be studied and examined.
Joining me now with more on all of that is North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer. Senator, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling about the pace of these confirmation hearings? It feels finally like things are picking up. Initially, I felt like the Democrats were obstructing a bit. Your thoughts?
Well, they were, and then they weren't. They're in a little bit of a grumpy mood today. I think Jonathan used the word hyperventilating when he's referring to markets. That's kind of what it's like around here right now. So they have been slowing the process down, Maria. But even at that, John Thune has set a cadence that has us going toward, to your point, Doug Burgum, I think, being confirmed later today or tonight. If Democrats don't want to give any time back, we'll go right to Chris Wright, who then will be confirmed sometime tomorrow night, I would think, or early Saturday. And then Doug Collins, who came out of committee 18-1. Nice. So, by the end of this weekend, we're probably going to have 8, 9, or 10 cabinet secretaries confirmed, which is a pace much faster than Joe Biden had 4 years ago.
That's terrific. So then the work begins in terms of executing President Trump's agenda, right? And I want to get your take on that. I know that, you're all talking about debt and talking about making all of this happen with the tax legislation and the extension of the tax cuts, along with money for the border, money for defense, et cetera, while keeping in mind that look, we're talking about 76% of spending going to mandatory programs and interest, 24% to discretionary programs. Are there areas that you believe you can actually cut into the mandatory numbers to actually come up with offsets to all of this spending?
Well, I think there is, Maria, but starting with the extension of the tax cuts. Now, the extension of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act may happen later in the year, may be part of one big bill, as you know, and we can get into all of that. But to me, that's got to be the highest priority, even if it's not the first priority, because making those tax cuts permanent will prevent a $4.3 trillion tax increase. And I know a lot of people, even some conservatives, would like to see that tax increase because it helps bring more balance, at least on paper, to the spending. But it does not. As we know, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act have more than paid for themselves, and we need to make that permanent to keep the economy growing. And then when we talk about the things we have to fund, like national security and border, we can do some of that, but some of the money too that we can generate by energy policy, Maria, energy policy, and this is why the emergency EO is so important, recognizes that energy is tied directly to inflation, it's tied to security, it creates revenue because many of our resources are federal resources.
So you're counting on growth as a result of tapping into the energy capacity. Look, we know that the tax legislation starts in the House. House Speaker Mike Johnson touting positive meetings. After wrapping up the conference retreat in Florida, Johnson said that the reconciliation bill is right on schedule. He told me the bill will be on Trump's desk by the end of April. So we're waiting to see how this is all happening and when it is delivered to the Senate. Politico obtained early details about the budget blueprint, targeting $125 billion in additional defense spending. which we've already reported. The Judiciary Committee talking about $110 billion in new spending, while the Homeland Security Committee wants $90 billion for border security. The Education Committee is targeting $60 billion in cuts. Agriculture eyeing about $50 billion in cuts. Energy looking at $200 billion, and Oversight says they can cut up to $40 billion. Does this sound realistic to you, Senator?
I think it does, Maria, and I think on the agriculture side, for example, remember that the vast majority of the agriculture budget is spending on SNAP and nutrition programs. If we just add some work requirements to a bunch of this welfare, you're going to see sort of automatic cuts on one hand. On the other hand, a more productive workforce, which is the one thing that prevents our economy from really breaking out, and that is a workforce. So I think work requirements could be a major policy shift that would help on both sides of the ledger.
So President Trump signing in the Laken Riley Act into law yesterday, the first piece of legislation signed by the president in his second administration. The bill directing ICE to detain illegal immigrants arrested or charged with theft-related crimes or assaulting a police officer. Trump also instructed the Pentagon to prepare Guantanamo Bay to hold and detain 30,000 criminal illegal aliens. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said that this makes it easier to deport them through the proper processing. Senator, can you tell us a bit about this deportation, which is now well underway, and what this means for the securing of the border priority, sir?
It's such a big deal, Maria, on so many fronts, starting with the fact that they're actually doing it, that Tom Homan and his team, under the guidance, of course, of Homeland Security and Secretary Kristi Noem, they're doing what they said they were going to do. Now, the challenge oftentimes with this are the holding facilities. Well, lo and behold, we have this incredible place called Guantanamo Bay that'll hold 30,000. And as you know, we've been imprisoning terrorists since 9/11 out there. What a wonderful, use of a really valuable asset. But here's the other thing.
Yep.
It's a deterrent to anybody who thinks they ought to come here as a criminal illegally and commit crimes in the United States. That's probably the biggest value of it all.
We want deterrence, okay? That's what we want, Senator. We've had no deterrence on any of our adversaries for the last 4 years. And so deterrence, I would imagine, work. Senator, good to see you as always, and we're watching your work, sir. Thank you.